All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into two really fascinating characters to get at a pretty fundamental idea, how power is held and expressed. So let's get right into it.
So, this whole thing really boils down to just one central question. And it's a question that completely defines our two guys, Jarru and Qhazo. How each of them answers it, well, that explains everything that follows. Now, what's cool is that the source material doesn't just set them up as, total opposites. Instead, it presents them as two totally different, complete answers to that question. You've got the expressive storm on one side and the contained stone on the other. Okay, so let's kick things off with Jarru. His power, it's all social. It's designed to be seen, to be heard, to be felt. He's our expressive answer. I mean, this one line from the text just says it all, right? His power isn't about physical brute force or some inherited title. Nope, it's about his ability to just command social space and grab every ounce of attention the second he walks into a room. And this right here, this gets to the absolute heart of his power source, recognition. Jarru is at his strongest when people are watching him. Attention is literally the fuel for his authority. So where does this come from? Well, the first thread of his ancestry is traced back to coastal indigenous nations like the Taino and Chumash. And from them, he gets this leadership style that's built on amazing oratory and just sheer presence and authority that just naturally pulls people in. Okay, the second thread, that comes from Levantine Arab cultures, which really value verbal artistry and, emotional expression. This is why he treats conversation like an arena, using his words as both a tool for dominance but also as an invitation to spar with him. And then, finally, you've got his Afro-Caribbean lineage, which is rooted in these bustling port city cultures. That's where he gets that magnetic charisma and that real physical confidence. It's why he moves like the whole world is a stage, totally comfortable being the center of attention. So, you see what's happening, right? These three lineages, they braid together to create a man whose real domain is the social sphere. He was literally born to rule rooms, not kingdoms. All right, now let's switch gears to Qhazo. He represents a completely different model of power. If Jarru is the storm, Qhazo, he's the mountain. See, where Jarru's whole thing was about conquest, Qhazo's is all about endurance. His power isn't something he announces, it's something you feel. It's this stable, unshakable presence that you can count on when everything's falling apart. So his power source is just pure reliability. He doesn't need an audience. In fact, his authority actually becomes most visible when things go wrong, because that's when everyone instinctively starts looking for someone who's steady, someone who's dependable. His foundation, it's forged from cultures where your strength was proven through hard work and sheer survival. From Black American labor traditions, he gets this incredible resilience. From Native American mountain lions, he gets a kind of stillness that's rooted in the land. And from Mexican indigenous cultures, he inherits stamina and a deep sense of humility. And layered on top of all that are what the source calls his discipline lines. His German ancestry adds stoicism and precision. Meanwhile, his Japanese influence gives him this martial discipline and emotional containment. These threads really refine his raw endurance into a focused, controlled force. So when you put all that together, what do you get? You get this mountain-born authority. He doesn't need to posture or explain himself because his power is just there. It's embedded in his very presence. Quiet, disciplined, and unbelievably solid. Okay, so let's put them side by side. And look, this isn't about which style is better. It's about understanding just how fundamentally different their approaches to power really are. This table just lays it all out so perfectly. Take a look at power style. Jarru has social gravity. He pulls people and attention towards him. Qhazo has physical gravity. He's this immovable presence that anchors the entire space around him. Or what about attention? It literally feeds Jarru, but for Qhazo, it's totally irrelevant. It really all boils down to this. Jarru moves energy, and Qhazo absorbs it. So, how does this all actually play out in practice? Well, the source material gives us a perfect little case study, a really tense confrontation where we see them work together. So, picture this. It's a crowded hallway. A group of boys decides they want to assert some dominance, so they block the path and start singling out Qhazo, calling him Mountain Boy. And true to form, what does Qhazo do? His only response is to just slightly adjust his bag. That's it. And then, here comes the storm. Jarru immediately steps in. But he doesn't throw a punch or make a threat. He uses a perfectly aimed verbal barb. Just like that, he seizes control of the social energy, completely disarming the aggressors and turning the whole confrontation into a performance for the crowd that's now gathering. Now, while Jarru is commanding the audience, Qhazo does something else entirely. He just grounds himself. He doesn't posture, he doesn't threaten, he just becomes this immovable object, a silent, physical fact that you simply cannot ignore. So after Jarru has completely taken over the social battlefield, Qhazo makes the final move. He speaks only once, and it's not an insult, it's not a challenge, it's just a simple, undeniable command. And you know what? It works. Confrontation over. And this is the key takeaway. They applied two totally different kinds of pressure at the exact same time. Jarru applied social pressure, moving the energy of the crowd. Qhazo applied physical pressure, absorbing all that aggressive energy that was being thrown at him, and together they stabilized the chaos. And that leaves us with a really powerful idea, doesn't it? These two forms of power, the expressive and the contained, they aren't just different, they're complementary. One pulls all the eyes in the room, while the other holds the ground beneath their feet. So the real question isn't which one is stronger, but what becomes possible when the storm and the stone decide to work together.